starting this recording. If you see anything in here you want to reference later, you're absolutely welcome to go and get the link to it. We'll be sending that out in email and putting it in the help file. All right, so customizing your surveys and segmentation funnels. What I'll do, like I always do, is at the end of this call, if anybody wants to take advantage of a one-on-one Zoom meeting, I hate calling them calls anymore because it is not a phone call, it's a one-on-one meeting on Zoom chat where, if needed, we could do a screen share and look over your shoulder and help you just get unstuck or just keep moving forward using Bucket. That will be available to you for free, and I will send the link out to that schedule at the end of this call. Now, excuse me, the main objective here in talking about customizing your segmentation funnels and your surveys is mainly I just want to show you everything that you have access to, so that when you go live and you go put this thing out on Facebook or Google or email, or if you're doing them for clients or anything like that, I want you to be able to see all the different places where you can customize. I'll show you how to add custom domains, how to add images to your surveys and your funnels, and then again, just all the different ways that you can put those visual effects on your surveys and your segmentation funnels. So let's start with the cool one that I don't think a lot of people know about, and that is adding custom domains to Bucket. So what you've got the ability to do is, instead of using like Bucket pages or Bucket forms or Bucket surveys or whatever, we've got the little default domains and URLs that you can use when you publish your survey or your segmentation funnel. You have the ability to add your own domains in there. And the best part is it's actually pretty simple. In fact, I even have what some might say a techie guru on the line with us. So if you guys are really good and have really tech questions, I might bring him on live to kind of go maybe even a little bit deeper if you guys have been trying to add custom domains and may have some extra questions. So his name is Jonathan, and he is on the line here. And I'll call him in a little bit if you guys need me to. So let's do this. Why don't we, first of all, let's talk about why you would add a custom domain to begin with, right? Like I said before, the main reason is that it gives you that ability to white label your funnels and your surveys, so that when you send it out to people, they go to it and they see it's coming from you all the way through. It's really good if you do client work and you don't want them just seeing Bucket surveys or Bucket funnel and all of that. You can actually use your clients' domain names as well, or even your own if you wanted to give the look as though you're the one providing the technology. In some cases, a lot of cases actually, ad platforms require you to have a different domain. Like Google's got their rule where you can only have one advertiser using a domain. So it's a great way to run Google traffic to your surveys or your segmentation funnels. Facebook, I know you get a much better performance using your own domains. And then again, I mean, just at the end of the day, like I said, it gives your funnels a much more professional look, right? So why not use it if it's available? If you're just going to do like a quick, one-off survey, you don't really need it. But if you plan on using the tool consistently, especially running traffic to it, I highly recommend taking advantage of this part. So why don't we pop right over here to Bucket, and I'll show you how to do it, because that is what I like to do. So when you first log into Bucket, you've got your dashboard here. And to get to the custom domain screen, what you'll do is you'll come up here and you'll click on Settings. All right? And then this will take you to your settings screen. And then what you'll do is you'll come over here where it says Custom Domains, and you'll add and edit your domain here. All right? As you can see, I've got one in here now. But let me just kind of walk you through, like, if this is your first time doing it, what I would highly recommend is you click on this setup instructions, right? even though you're on this call and we're walking you through it, these are some really good instructions. I should know because I used these instructions to help me set up the domain that you saw in here. So you come over here and just follow the basic directions. They're not going to be super specific based on who your domain provider is, but you'll at least be able to see exactly how to do it. And like I said, it's really simple. It's a matter of going to your domain provider, identifying the domain that you want to edit, or have the have your surveys go to, and it could be a subdomain of your existing. Like let's say you have your main domain, you could actually do a subdomain where you could call it something like survey.yourdomain.com, and you just follow these instructions for setting that up. And then once you've done that, once you've set that up on your domain registry, you follow these literally 6 instructions here. You'll come back over to Bucket and then finish up the steps here. So like add a custom domain, I would type the domain name in, follow the domain instructions, and then let them know that you follow the instructions here. And then what they'll do is they'll go in and check and verify that you did it correctly, and then within 24 hours, it'll be set up for you inside of Bucket. It's all happening automatically, but it takes, for every time I've seen it done, it takes about 24 hours before you can actually start using the custom domain inside of your funnels. Okay. Now, is this making sense to everybody? Let me just pop this thing open real quick, make sure we didn't get out in like way too deep tech waters. Yes, please. Everything. Got it. Okay, cool. Looks like everyone's on the page, same page. Boom, boom. Fantastic. All right. So once you've gotten the domain into Bucket and you've waited the 24 hours, what you'll do is you'll come back over here and you see where it says you've got this annuity assessment.online and it says verified and it has the green link next to it. Just cancel this. See how it's got that green link, light next to it? That means it's available to start using in your funnels, right? And so what you'll do is when you go, let's just go over to a segment. And we'll do just an edit on this one here. And then, so what I'm doing is I'm inside of a segmentation. I'm just kind of navigating over to a segmentation funnel. To add the custom domain to the funnel or the survey, it's the exact same thing on both. What you'll do is you'll go to the publish screen and select your domain. And as you can see here, once it's green, it's going to be available in this drop-down list, and that's where you'll choose it. And then you'll come down here, hit publish, and it'll generate a link that looks, let me see if I have it. I think I have it. Yeah. It'll generate a link that looks like this. So you've got the main URL and then the kind of code at the end of it, so that it looks like it comes from your exact domain, instead of, like I said, one of those bucket surveys. Here, let me pop back over here. Instead of like bucket forms, bucket pages, bucket quizzes, etc. You'll be using your own domain. And that's that first layer of customization. That's that first layer of, okay, now I've got something completely customized here that will totally set you apart from anyone else using Bucket. Does that make sense to everybody? Yes? Cool. Good. Yes, I definitely think you should, I highly recommend it. I mean, it's an option that it doesn't take long to do. And it's, again, like I said, it's like 6 steps, super simple to set up. Can you do this as early as the original survey or only at this level? You could do it for any tool. You could do it for a survey too. Yeah, so if you're just setting out your first survey, you can go jump over into the settings, add the domain, and then once the domain is verified and set up, you can just go right into Discover. click on your survey, and got to find one that's not already published. I think these are probably all published. But you do it the exact same way I just showed you. I'll just make a copy. Yeah, so I'm going to do a clone real quick and jump over here. This is a regular survey. Come over to publish. You just choose that domain from the list and then hit publish, and you'll have your survey will be on your custom domain. Kimberly asked, I missed how you got the domain. Do I register a new domain, or can I just create a page on my existing site? So, and you know what? This would probably actually be a great way, a place for Jonathan, because I know I saw him do a post the other day on Facebook talking about it in detail. Jonathan, you don't have to go like into mega super detail, man, but are you still on here?
I am still here.
So, can you? Kimberly's asking, and I think Arcana looks like she might actually have kind of the similar question. Can you kind of let them know, is it possible to use their own existing domain for custom domains?
It is. So the one thing that you want to be careful to avoid getting confused about is if you have a domain and you've already got a website, or you're planning on running a regular website that is not part of your quiz, you cannot, well, let me back up and say one thing. So the way domains work is they take your domain, which is, of course, a bunch of letters, and they send your traffic to a certain website somewhere. Now, in order for that to function, you have to have what's called DNS. I can explain that later if we need to. DNS basically tells your computer which website you're really trying to access when you type these letters in for your domain. And so if you were to set up two records for the same domain address, one record, one DNS record pointing to your website server, and the other record pointing to Bucket, what you're going to have is a conflict, and some people will see your website and other people will see your quiz. Now, I'm bringing this up because this is actually the top #1 point of confusion that I have run into myself when helping people set this up. So the best way around this is let your website be, you know, whatever it is, .com, so yourwebsite.com, or www.yourwebsite.com, and then come up with another, what we call a subdomain that you're going to use for Bucket. So something like quiz.yourwebsite.com will work great. Now, if you're into the technicalities, what you do is you create a new, we call it an A record for your subdomain. If that doesn't mean anything to you, no problem. Just get a hold of whoever manages your domain or your website and tell them, hey, I need a new subdomain. And if you look at the help document that Jeremy was showing us earlier, it contains all the information that is needed for that. Does that seem pretty clear? So it's not the same as adding a page, but it's kind of similar. You have your basic domain, or www.yourdomain.com. You just want to add a new, you might call it a new label to the beginning of that. So quiz.yourdomain.com. Does that make sense?
Looks like it, my man. Thank you so much for going into the super nerd version of that.
You're welcome.
I have the clicking around version.
If by any chance you're in the Ask Method community, as Jeremy mentioned, there is a post in there that I created, I think, before the weekend that goes into a lot of detail on that. If you're not in the community, no problem. You can always contact support through the little intercom widget once you have logged into your Bucket account.
And Rebecca actually has a question here that I think she's a little confused. She's saying, she's asking if the subdomain will only be able to hold one survey or quiz.
Nope. So when you click the publish button, just like Jeremy was showing us a little bit ago, the Bucket software, the Bucket platform, is going to create what you might call the page. And that's going to be different between every survey or every funnel that you publish. The domain or the subdomain part will always be the same. But that last part, so most people are used to seeing something.com slash and then the page name. That's what's going to change from funnel to funnel, is that part that comes after the slash. The part at the beginning is going to be the same on all your funnels. So actually, to answer Rebecca's question, where she says, I want www.mysite.com/discovery survey. That actually is not going to work if www.mysite.com is your normal website. So yeah, those two actually cannot work together, at least not at this point.
That's right, Rebecca. Yeah. So your next question was right. So it'll be surveys.mysite.com and then / but it's not going to be like my first survey. It'll look more like, look at this. I don't know if you guys can see it, but the URL here. So you see you've got this annuityassessment.online. That's the website, right? That's the URL. So yours would be like quiz.annuityassessment.online. But you see how it's got the SF 5E blah blah blah. So that's what it'll generate for each survey. But this stuff, the actual domain information, will stay the same. Robert, you nailed it. You're right. So yeah, quiz.yourdomain.com, and then just it'll kick out the rest of it by itself.
Yeah. So Jeremy, I don't know if you noticed this, but Rebecca was asking. I was hoping to avoid that string of numbers. I don't think at this point that the software allows us to set a custom page name. Is that true? Do you know, Jeremy?
No, I'm pretty sure it doesn't right now. It generates it automatically.
Yep.
But again, the big issue is less of that human reading it, more of just having it white labeled as your domain. Like that's the big deal.
Exactly. I tell you what, though, if you want to be able to name your page, that would probably make a great feature request for you to submit to the Bucket team.
And we all know how to do feature requests, don't we? We click on this little smiley face down here and enter the same question 1,000,000 times. I should have probably stopped recording when I said that. But yeah, so if that's something that you want, definitely click the little happy face down here and submit that. All right. If there are, Amanda's asking if there are different subdomains, are the quizzes stored in different places for future use? Yeah. So you can have, again, you'll do it the same way. If you wanted to use multiple subdomains, I think you would just come in here and you would have to set it up on your registrar, but then you would come in here and add each one specifically on the custom domain page. If we leave it at the bucket domain, will we risk not being whitelisted? I don't know if it's going to make that big of a difference. I mean, I say that, but then one day, some guy gets it and sends out 1 billion emails, right? I mean, that's one of the thoughts behind it. Like that's one of the reasons why you definitely would want to go and get your own domain, right? For the links that you're going to be handing out to people, email, Facebook, paid ads, whatever. You'll be able to have a lot more control over what happens if you're using your custom domain. So, again, it's that first major level of customization, right? So I am so glad that we brought this up because we had some really great questions on this, and I'm sure we could go into super tech detail. That's why I brought the man himself, and thank you for helping us out with that, Jonathan. Let's do this. Why don't we, if you guys have more questions on that, Jonathan's over here on the chat too. I'm gonna keep pushing on. But if you have those questions, feel free to keep pushing them in. What I want to talk about now is some like pretty stuff, right? Some of the stuff that will make your survey really pop and actually help you with the conversions. And so the first thing is using image answers. It's oops. So what a lot of people don't know, because it is kind of buried a little deep, is that you can actually use images for your answers. And I think I have a couple of examples here. I think this is one. Yeah. So I've got a quiz here. What was this called? This was the Madden video game. Like it's a Madden offense chooser kind of quiz. And so what we've done on this quiz is we're using images for the answers. So where it says choose your quarterback, instead of just giving you, the regular, the standard text, what Bucket lets you do, and this is really great for mobile, is it lets you put these images as the responses. And the way that it works on mobile is they can, tap the actual image itself to go to the next question. So you see here, after you choose your quarterback, you choose your receiver, then you choose your running back. And don't worry, if you're not a big, American football person, that's totally fine. I'm just showing you what is possible. In fact, I think I've got another couple that I can show you too. So basically, what I'm showing you here is using images as your responses. I get sometimes you may not be able to do that. You may have the longer the longer responses, but my suggestion, and I highly recommend this, especially on the segmentation funnel side, is you always want to be thinking in your mind, how do I optimize this thing for mobile traffic? Because at the end of the day, mobile traffic is where most people are, right? It's just if you're 100% relying on desktop, you're gonna be in trouble. And so to add an image to your segmentation funnel, and you can do it in survey. Segmentation funnel, I think, is a lot more practical. But to do that, it's super simple. All you've got to do, I'm going to pull over here. Let's click on segment. And this is here we are. Oh, and I've got something else cool to show you. So what I just did is I clicked on edit. Now, if you've been using Bucket for any amount of time, you know when you click edit on a funnel or a survey that has responses in it, you might as well just go ahead and prep for heart surgery, because it's a heart attack waiting to happen, right? But the good news is we heard a couple of people died, but we'll just we'll pass that. But since then, I think it's been about a week now. When you click to edit an existing funnel that has responses in it, rather than scare the life out of you with a warning that says you're about to lose all your information, now, if you choose to edit, since your funnel has more than one response, you're simply limited to only being able to edit the look of the funnel. Okay? So using edit the welcome pages, adding images and stuff like that. So, thought that would be a nice little piece of good news. I'm going to hit edit existing funnel here. And I'm going to show you guys how to add these images to your questions. So what you'll do is there's two things you can do. First of all, you can actually add the image as the question. So instead of that choose your quarterback, what I could have done is use a really cool quarterback image and actually had the type written in choose your quarterback, right? You totally can do that. It'll show up in the top middle. But then notice for each one of these answers, what you'll do is you'll put the text in regular, like you would, and then you come over here and hit this these three dots, hit add image, and then you simply upload the image. It'll give you a nice preview. You'll be able to kind of like play with it a little bit, and then hit upload, and I'm going to hit cancel because I already have them there. But that's it. So you just go through and add an image for each of your responses on these are radio buttons, but you can do the same thing on checkboxes as well. Hit cancel. This is making sense. I'm going to pull up the old chat box here, just make sure. All right. So image responses. Does the button matter? Checkbox or radio button? No. So you can use both. And the only thing that's different the reason I would not use checkboxes, obviously, is because they can check as many as they want, right? Multiple choice. For segmentation funnels, I really like as soon as they hit that with their thumb, they tap it, it takes them to the next question, and for that you'll want to use radio buttons. So hopefully that helps. So it's a real simple thing to do, but as you can see, I mean the difference here. Let's do this. I mean, just so you can see the difference if you can you actually? Okay, yeah, that's it. So to delete it, I literally just found this out. I've never done this before. So if you hit delete, if you click on the image itself, it'll bring up the delete. So if you need to kind of move them around, or if you got the wrong image, that's all you have to do to delete it. Let me see here. I think I have another really good example. It's not gonna pull it up. No. I don't have the link in front of me, but there's when it comes to getting better conversions, optimizing for mobile, honestly, there's not really very many better ways to optimize for mobile with your segmentation funnels than with putting the images on the questions. So that's how you do it. And it's the same on both surveys and segmentation funnels. So that's just one more major step to really making your funnel customized and really stand out. Now, another way, excuse me, is actually using HTML inside of your funnel on your questions. Unfortunately, you can't do it on your actual responses themselves, but you can add HTML on your questions. You can edit the HTML on your welcome pages. So, like for instance here, you see where I've got what offensive scheme will you dominate with in Madden 18? As you can see here, you've got dominate. We use just the basic bold HTML. And so you can do that throughout the entire site. So pretty much every page that you have access to, wherever you have access to text and copy, you can edit you can add a little HTML to it. In fact, why don't I do this? I know I've got. Let's see here. I think I've got. Let's take a look at this one, for example. This is an example. This is a survey that we ran about a month ago. And I loved it because they did a really good job just kind of editing the HTML throughout the survey. So one thing that's really cool to do is, and this is really great for surveys especially, I would say even good for segmentation funnels, is to take what you're going to talk about on the question and just kind of put it in and describe it in like a 1 word or 2 words or 3 words, just a real short word or phrase, and then ask your question underneath it. And the way you would do something like this is, let me see if I can jump back over to, see if I have something like this somewhere, just so you can see, because basically what we're looking at here is just a little bit of HTML, but you can see that it really makes the question pop. So let's come back over here. So what we're looking at here is this is all happening on the question name, right? So let's go to survey, and hold on, I think I've got one over here. I think it's this one. Yeah, so you can see here where I have the question name, I've got bold, underlined, when do you plan to retire? So I'm using this, I'm using kind of this format, right? So it's got when do you plan to retire? And then underneath it, if I needed more content, I could do like a line break, and then right under it, I could say to help us, better serve you, and then basically fill in the question from there. And then if I needed even more information for them, just to kind of give them a little more detail, I think we do that a couple times here. See this? Underneath it, then you have this you have this question description section. So you've got literally, you could have multiple lines up here using like a line break, and then underneath it you could have get even more detailed with your copy. So as you can see, that's just it's a great way to really flesh this out. Instead of trying to just flat out ask the question and put the thing underneath it, you can really get creative with how customized you make each one of your questions. And that's really important, because when you've got like a longer question, a lot of times you can take that long question, condense it into like a category, and then take the important part of the question and ask it in a cut down manner. So if you find yourself with questions that seem really long and they're like big long text blocks of the big font, maybe you want to look at it and do something similar to this, because I'm sure you'll agree this is pretty attractive, right? It's much more attractive than just kind of slapping the text up. So that's another way of doing it. You can use HTML, like I mentioned before, on pretty much every section except for your responses. You can use it on your lead capture pages. You can use it on your welcome pages. You can use it on your outcome pages if you're using the bucket.io builder. Let's see here. The HTML codes are in the design tab. Well, okay, so you'll see most of the codes, just to kind of a cheat sheet, if you will, inside of each of these screens. I'm going to show you something here in a little bit that'll probably help you out. I'm going to show you an idea that I use to build these things, so I'm not sitting here typing all of this into Bucket. I've got a kind of like a cheat sheet of all the questions and all of the places where you can enter your copy. That'll be a better idea. So, but yeah, if you need just like basic cheat sheets here on each of these screens, the welcome screen, the lead capture screen, and the outcome screens, they all have like the basic cheat sheet for you. Oh, I see what you're saying. I'm actually, Rebecca, I get what you're saying about when you go to the design section and you see like the blank page, it doesn't look like what you've already done. That page is only to show you a couple of other options, not the HTML and the work that you've already completed. But I get what you're saying. I know. I know. All right. So let me do this. So if you ever want to just see what your changes look like, it's real simple. Let me hit discard. If you ever want to see, no matter what page you're on, whether you're on the design screen or configure screen, anytime you want to see the real-time version of your page, all you've ever got to do is click this preview button, and it'll do a quick pop-up in a new tab, and you can see exactly what it looks like. And so what I'll do is, if I'm working on something, and let's say I want to come back over here and say, I don't really like that. Let me come back over here, make the adjustment, then come back over here and do a refresh, and it'll refresh in real time. Does that make sense? Feature requests coming on clickable images for segmentation surveys. Clickable images, what part of that, Robert? Because I mean, you can use clickable images in your segmentation survey, in your segmentation funnel. Like that's what we were talking about earlier. It's part of your, the questions. Is that what you mean for the responses? I just want to make sure I'm not looking at the wrong thing here. Cool. Well, if that didn't answer your question, then let me know in the chat. So, anyway, so adding the HTML, as you can see, you can get super creative. And again, we're talking surveys and segmentation funnels where you've got all this text, the ability to do a bunch of text, right? And so what I always suggest, especially, and again, this is more on the segmentation funnel side, but I always really try to figure out how do I condense my words down, right? And then I really like the idea here of theming the page with a word to 1 to 3 word phrases, and then trying to keep your text as tight as possible. And then of course using the image options for your responses. Again, that's all that's going to do is just make your funnel convert even better. So let's do this. Let's actually jump into the design screen real quick, because there are some features on here that I think get missed from time to time. I'm just going to look at everything that's on the screen. We've got the options that you have to edit on this page are your logo, your background images, the color palette, which is, in my opinion, probably one of the first things that I like to get done, is just kind of play with the way things look color-wise. And then, of course, editing your font size. So, real quick, for the logo, it's over here on the header. You just click on header, and you can edit the logo. Click on footer, and this is where you can come in and add your navigation, which is going to be important when you're running ads on Facebook and Google, because they definitely want you to have at least a privacy policy, right? I always like a link to the homepage. Some people don't. Some people will try to really minimize that bottom menu. It's, I think, total preference on that, but it's there in case you need it. Now, one thing I want to point out here, you might see that there is some HTML code down here as well. What you can do is, outside of the navigation, there's also a footer text. I wanted to add some credibility badges onto this particular funnel, and so I just used basic HTML for adding an image, have the image hosted, and then so you get what you've got here, right? So you've got the secure, you've got the Better Business Bureau, and then you've got some VeriSign stuff. So again, I wanted that personally for this. You can use anything you want for that image. That's where you would do it though. Again, a little more HTML, but you would do it, and it would go across the entire funnel if you add it on that on the footer text section of your design screen. So, in case I lost you, I'm on footer. I'm going to click it again. I'm on footer. I'm using the navigation, and underneath the very bottom, under all the navigation options, I have footer text, and I did some HTML there. Got it? You can choose the different fonts here. I've noticed lately they've been playing with it, so I don't know if you can make the fonts as large as you used to could, but it does default to medium. And then it also defaults to the open sans. So if you want to play with this here, you can definitely do that. Here's another big one, the background image or color. So if you don't have a background image and the default is white, and if it's too whitewashed for you, you can come over here and play with the background colors. I don't want to do that for this one because, I mean, frankly, it's using a white background for the logo, so that would look silly. You probably don't want to use a white background logo. In most cases, you probably want to use a clear background PNG. But if you do ever want to change the background color, just switch over to background and you can edit the color. One thing I want to point out about the backgrounds. So where it says general background, this is the background for your questions. If you have a welcome page and you want to set that at the welcome page background. And then what I would definitely do, if you're using a lead capture page, I would just go ahead and mark the lead capture page background the same as all the others. So that way you've got a continuous image throughout your entire funnel. So that means for each of these, I would typically, in most cases, if I'm using an image, just go over here and do an upload on each of them. And the last one, in my opinion, the most important one of them all is the color palette. Because when you first load up a bucket funnel or a bucket survey, so if you created it from scratch, if you're not cloning it, if you made it from scratch, you're going to notice that the header text, the headline text, the subhead, all the text is like super duper gray, light gray, and almost impossible for, I mean, you got old eyes like mine, it's really hard to read. So taking consideration on the people who might be seeing my funnels, I will almost always, the first thing is come in here and just darken everything. You may not need to darken, you may just need to get it down to your branding colors. I always change the button to orange too. And again, just changing all the colors to fit your scheme. This is where you'll do it. It's at the color section. Then just make sure you save. Never leave the design screen without hitting save. That'll save all your changes and you're ready to go. So let me real quick make sure I'm not missing anything. Looks like we got some support specialists in here on the chat too. Got it. Changes the button color. So, okay, yeah, you can change the button color here. If you look down where it says button, I changed that to orange. Does that make sense? Got it. Okay, yeah, so Rebecca, so they're gray on the page until you activate, until you can go on to the next thing. Which I think that's the beauty of it, is it stays gray, but once you type it in and you've completed the requirement for that screen, then it turns a different color. And if people don't like it, well, then what they'll probably do is you know, I mean, they're trying to answer. If they're trying to click on something that is grayed out, then they just need to answer the question. But I completely agree with you about the light gray being hard to see. And here's where you would change that. And you'll notice in almost every funnel I ever show you guys, if it's something that I made, what I'll typically do is I've got these colors set, so I don't have to always remember to do it. I'll typically just clone one and then use that. And that's another great thing about using the clone feature is you get the colors set up the way you want them to, hit clone, and you don't have to always be coming back in here and changing it. So even if it has nothing to do with another survey, it's easier to delete questions than to come in here and mess with this once you get it exactly the way that you like them. So I'll typically build this thing out and then clone from then on. That's just another little tip from someone who makes a ton of these things to you. All right. Let's jump back over here. All right, so this last section here is the configuration screen. Like, this is the last part of, I think, really just getting all your customization on here. So the first thing you want to do is you've got access to a progress bar. I love them, especially for the longer surveys. If it's just kind of like a 1 or 2 question, I'll typically leave it off. But for the longer ones, absolutely kick that thing in there so people know kind of where they're at in the process. And you can kind of play with it, and I'll show you here in a second. You can add next and back buttons. I typically don't do those, but you certainly can if you feel like your people need that action. You've got the meta tag link info and then the share image. So let's walk through that real quick here. Let's just jump back over to this one. We'll hit edit. Edit. And then I'm going to go to the configure screen. And as you can see here, you've got your progress bar. Once you turn that on, you have the option of starting that progress bar wherever you want to. So you can start it as little as 0, or you can start it wherever else you want. I've heard all kinds of different ways of doing this. I think in most cases, what I'll typically do is just fire it up somewhere around 20%. It's just where I just grab it and stick it over there somewhere, and wherever it lands is what I'll typically use. I don't know if there's a scientific number to start it at, but that's where I'll usually go. And then what Bucket will do is just calculate each progression as they move through it based on how many questions are left. Again, you can add a continue button, change the name of it. So if you are if you're using another language besides English, this would be a great place to add the other language. You can add a back button as well. You can add only one or the other. So if you just want to give people the option of going back, then you can use that. I make a big deal about this section over here, the meta information, when I talk about setting up a new survey, setting up a new segmentation funnel, because most of the time, this is the first thing anybody's ever going to see about your segmentation funnel or your survey. Because if you're sharing it on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, LinkedIn, even Gmail most of the time too. Whenever you put this link out there, they'll get a preview of the link automatically. And if somebody sees Untitled bucket.io, I can almost guarantee you they're not going to click it. But if someone's getting some kind of benefit, or you're telling them exactly what's going to be on the other side of the link they're about to click, then your chances of getting them to click that go through the roof. So it's a hugely important part of customizing your funnel. This is where the marketing starts, right back here in the configure. When you share this thing, this is what people will see. And if you take it a step further, you can even add an image to that so that they'll see an image as well in the preview. So if you share this thing on Facebook, or even better, if someone who's taking your survey or your segmentation funnel decides, wow, this was so cool, I'll go share this. Then do you want them to share something that no one else will click on, or something that is awesome? If you chose B, you chose right, and this is how you do that. You just add the image here, add the title and description, hit that save, and you have yourself a fully customized link. And that, my friends, I think is that. So we've looked at, images for our answers. We've looked at using HTML throughout the site, throughout the funnel in different ways. We've hit the configuration page. We've hit the design screen. We've looked at pretty much every possible way that you can customize these things, adding background images, and you can add videos. Again, all of these things are completely available. We've added custom domains. As you can see here, you can take a plain white background from scratch survey or segmentation funnel and whip that thing up to where no one will know where it came from. And that's how you do it. So I'm going to pull this thing up real quick. I'm going to take a look at some questions. Looks like
Hey, Jeremy, I have saved 3 questions that I think are worth addressing.
Cool.
All right. So Irma wanted to know, how do you change the color of the progress bar?
Oh, that is a very good question. One that I think I had the wrong answer to for a while. The way you change the progress bar is in design. You come over here to the design screen, and it's the same color as the, what did I just do? The same color as the button. So the color you choose as your button is the color that will be your progress bar.
Tricky. That's like an Easter egg. You never knew you were going to get a second benefit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just saw John's thing come up real quick. John had a question about, I'd like to know some of the other HTML tags other than the ones listed. So, John, I do a little bit of cheating. I go to this little HTML builder and just kind of do my typing, and it's kind of like it's like a Word document, but then basically after I'm done with it, it spits it out. So I would just say literally go to Google and just type in, online HTML maker or something like that. And what I'm going to show you something else that's really cool on top of that here in a second. So we have a couple more questions. We'll get back to you on that, John. I'm going to show you something really cool.
You want me to give you some others here?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so Dan wanted to know, how do you get the black navigation menu bar into your footer? I don't think he's asking about the color. I think he's asking how to turn the navigation bar on.
Yep. So to get the black one, you come over here to where it says nav background and change it to whatever color, right? And this is on the color section. To get it to show up, period, you come over here where it says footer. We're on the design screen again, remember. You click on footer, and then turn on footer navigation, and then you've got access to adding up to 5 different navigation menu items. Now, make sure you'll have to use the links to your actual website, right? It's not like you're not linking to another part of Bucket, so just so you know that.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Okay, and Mark wanted to see again how to clone a funnel.
Yes, the old clone a funnel trick. So to clone a funnel, I'm going to go back here. So I'm on the screen with all my funnels on it, right? If I wanted to clone this one here, I would just hit this. You see these 3 dots at the top? Here, I'll do it on this orange one so you can probably see it a little bit better. See these 3 dots? Click that. Hit clone. Get hypnotized by the little circle. And voila, copy of Madden offense quiz. And then from there, you just go in and edit it. That's how you clone, sir.
Awesome. Irma has a question, I think actually about outcome pages. So she asked, if I was giving away a freebie, where do I add that to the completion of the survey?
So you're talking about on a survey? On a survey, you would add that on the thank you page. So here, so let's click edit here. And like for instance, I'm about to give you guys a freebie phone call, right? Where you can jump on the schedule. And so to give you access to that schedule, I put the survey together, and on the thank you page, see here, you got a custom thank you page where it says button. You can put the URL to anything you want. And so in this case, it's the access to the schedule. But if you have like something you're giving away, like I don't know, like a PDF or anything else, you can put that right there. If it's a video you're giving away for free, you can just deliver the video right on the thank you page if you want. If it's like a coupon, and you have like a little coupon generator or something like that, you can link them right out to that. Wherever you want to do it, you would do it on the thank you page, or on your segmentation funnel, you would do it on an outcome page. So I'm going to just read this. Okay, so yeah, so for your segment page, you can, or your segmentation funnel, you can create multiple thank you pages. Yes, one for each outcome. Yes, and then put a different freebie on each segment. Yes, you can totally do that. A lot of people do that. Glad you're excited about it, because I am too. Alrighty. All right, so why don't I do this? While, if anything else comes in, no, you guys can keep asking. While y'all are doing that, I'm going to, I saw somebody wrote wait in like all caps. I'm going to pull up this link for you guys real quick. I'll just put it in here. Discard. About.
I'm going to answer Irma's question while you're pulling that up. So
Yep,
Irma asked, she asked, can I add my freebie video to my thank you page instead of my YouTube link? The answer is not really. So Bucket does not host files. It's not a file storage service. You will need to upload your video to a video hosting site. YouTube obviously is the most common one, and it's free for the most part. There's other alternatives like Wistia or Vimeo. Once you have uploaded your video to one of those platforms, generally all of them will give you what's called an embed code, which is just a little brick of HTML code that you copy and paste from that platform over to Bucket. And then when you do that, Bucket will actually display the video inline right in the page. The people who are taking your survey really won't know that the video is coming from somewhere else. It'll look like part of the page to them. But so just to be real exact, no, you cannot actually upload the video file itself into bucket.io for hosting. It doesn't serve that purpose.
Yeah, but you can definitely do the embed code.
Yep.
I was going to show you. All right.
Amanda asked a follow-up question. Will it leave them on YouTube when they finish? Well, to be a little more exact, they will never leave your outcome page right on your quiz. Depending on how you do the settings, they will probably never realize that they're on YouTube in the first place.
Yeah, I'll just show you guys what he's talking about. So
Yep.
I'm on this Madden one here, right? When I go through, I'm going to pick, of course, Aaron Rodgers, and then pick a couple of these. Obviously, I'm legendary. And then I'm just going to do a test. And then as you can see here, this is a YouTube video, but it's right here on the thank you page. And I'm giving them this video specific to this outcome on the page. So I think that's what you guys were looking to do anyways, but this is how it looks. This is what happens. So you can't, I mean, you can tell it's a YouTube video, but I mean, it'll start playing right here on this page. Was that what you were looking for? Awesome. Cool. All right, so let's do this. Let me put this thing over here real quick. I want to get you guys out of here. It's 4:58. I promised an hour. I hate making you sit around just listening to me. So let me make sure. Does anybody want a one-on-one call? I'm going to put the link right in there. Can you guys see this in the? Can you guys see that in the chat? If you can see the link, let me know. Just say I see the link or something.
Yeah, Linda was just asking for it. Linda, are you able to see that link in the chat?
Awesome, cool. So yeah, so guys, if you haven't ever taken us up on a one-on-one call before, you know, just ask anybody. I mean, I think they're super helpful, and honestly, you can use it. I go into this every time because I think it's important to really stress to you that, you know, it's not like you're not getting on the call with somebody who's going to try to pitch you Bucket. Like, if that's what you're worried about, that's not what it is. If you have an issue, if you're trying to get, you know, over some block, or if you just need somebody who's looked at 1 billion of these things to look at your thing and tell you what you may not even know you don't know, then I highly recommend you click the link and schedule a call, honestly. It may be a week or so out, but I think it's totally worth it. If you're planning on using Bucket seriously, I recommend it. What we do, it's not a phone call, it's a Zoom meeting where, like, you can do like a screen share. You get someone like either myself or Jonathan, a Bucket specialist, to look at your screen, look at your account while you're clicking around, and you actually get stuff done while you're on the call, right? So it's totally worth it. I think it's 15 minutes, so it's not long. It's very short. We do try to keep it as close to that 15 minutes as possible. And just so you know, too, like, I haven't seen a issue yet that was too big or even too small to make it worth that time, right? I think the big issue, the big benefit, is that it does give you that feeling of, all right, well, the tech's out of the way, now I can get on to doing my thing. And just having the peace of mind that your software is working right without you having to constantly be dealing with it. So if that's something that you want, highly recommend getting on that link, scheduling a call. We added, I think, a new shift even. So if you need kind of like those later hours, I think we've got some of that in there. No promises, but if you're quick, you might even be able to get some of that. I'm going to post it one more time. Okay, make sure everybody has access to this thing.
It's like having your very own webinar just for you and your top questions.
Just you by yourself. John, you were going to expand on my question about HTML other than listed in bucket. Yeah. Oh. What was it? Now I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah. Oh, I've got another freebie, a free thing. John, you are the man. So if you are out there and you're building and you're doing HTML and you're wanting to customize your surveys or your segmentation funnels, I have a huge recommendation. And that is to use something like this screen here, if you can see me scrolling through it, where basically you can go and do your entire funnel on a Word doc versus trying to get it all stuffed into bucket. Then you can take what you've gotten inside this Word doc and paste it in each of the screens on bucket. So you've got this kind of linear top down where you've got access to everything, to each of your pages right in here. And again, you go get fill it in here. You can kind of move it around a little bit. You got way more access in a Word doc than you do in bucket, right? And so, because the bucket just wasn't designed in the beginning to be like this robust design thing. It's more about getting the conversions and getting the information. And so what I like to do is build out first, then go copy and paste, just kind of as a systemized process. So would you guys like this? If you guys would like this, let me know. And I'll put the link to it in the chat. John, do you want that? Or do you have it? Okay. Here, let me. This is for this is for surveys. So you have to make a promise, though, and I know you may have heard me say this before, but if I give you this, you cannot edit it. You have to do, as soon as you get it, come in here and get access to it, what you have to do is click on File, make a copy, and then make a copy of it. And if you promise me you'll do that, I will paste it right here. So this one is for surveys, right, this first one. And then the second one is for segmentation funnels. They're kind of the same, but they were different enough that I decided to make two. So I'm going to put both of them in there for you. All right, so get them both. You're welcome to them. I think you'll find it makes things a lot easier, especially when it comes to some of those longer stuff, some of the blocks where you're doing a lot of HTML, like for your headlines and stuff like that. This will be really good for that. And that, my friends, I believe is that. I think that was it. So, yep, just make sure you get the one-on-one call. There are a very limited number available. You don't need me to say that. If you're trying to get in there now and you're not seeing anything available for a week, there's so many people that want them, and it's first come first serve. So get in there, get yours. And let me check some questions one more last time before I let you out of there. Any other cheat sheets you want to share? You know what, Mark? Not yet, but they are coming. I was just looking over some earlier. They've got some really cool templates that are coming out. I think you're going to love it. Some really cool stuff. And you're absolutely welcome. All right, folks. I am going to let you go. We're 5 minutes after. I appreciate you all so much. You know I love this. You know I can't wait for Tuesday night to come and tell you all the cool new stuff and help you out and get you on the schedule. And if you need anything, cannot access the calendar. Uh-oh. Here, let me click on this thing. You're all very welcome. Yes, and everything that we did today will be replayed. I'm gonna